Hello and welcome to Lena's Needlework. Today we're going to do single crochet, and they call it in the flat because it's a rectangle or whatever you're going to make, but it's not a circle. Okay, let's get started. I hold my needle like this, like a pencil, and some people hold their needle like this, ergonomic needles, because they're bigger round and it's very comfortable, and I don't think your hands get as tired. But I learned this way, so this is the way I'm going to go. And I wrap my finger around my pinky, go to the inside, and go over my forefinger. And then I use my thumb and my middle finger to hold my thread. And as you know, we start with a foundation chain. And I don't do knots. I don't believe in putting knots in your work. Most people who do embroidery and weaving and stuff, they don't use knots whatsoever. When they first start, they don't put a knot at the end and then pull it through. Okay, so I go like this. I just take my thread, go over the top, I put my needle in, I go under and over and pull it through, and then I make it, a little bit the size I need. And we're going to chain 10 today. So we're going to go over and under and through. See how the first chain looks? Just like the other chains. And then go over and under. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now you can do a foundation chain that's a little stretchier than this. And mainly when I start the foundation chain, people have a tendency to make them too tight, especially beginner crocheters. So I started with a larger needle, an I9 5.5 millimeter. So let's go ahead and change into our H needle. Now I'm going to show you an additional foundation stitch, and it makes the bottom look a little better. You've got your V's here, and you've got your humps or your little nubs. This is the center thread in the back. So what you want to do is you want to go on the back. So let's just go ahead and chain 1 and then go on the back chain. And we just go in that little hump, and we go in, under and over, pull it through, and we pull it through. It's kind of like a slip stitch, really. And you go under and over and then pull it through. Or I guess you could do a single crochet in there. Under and over. Whoops, let's get that thread in there, all of it. Under and over and pull it through. Under and over. Pull it through. Under and over and pull it through. Under and over and pull it through. And what that will do is it'll make the bottom look like the top. When you're finished, the bottom row looks like the top row. Otherwise, it won't look like the top row. Let's get that bump in there. There we go. See, there's the bottom row. Now chain 1. Now we're going to do single crochet, and usually the chain 1 is your stitch. That's how the patterns do it. The patterns say chain 1, turn, and then they'll say skip the first stitch because the chain 1 is your first stitch and it gives you the height you need. And it says go in the second stitch. So here's the second stitch, and you go in the top 2, and single crochet, as you know, is in 2 parts. You bring 1 and turn. Same principle. You skip the first stitch because the chain 1 counts as your first stitch. Then you go in and go under and over, bring it through, 2 loops on the hook, and then under and over and through the 2 loops. And you go in again, under, through the 2 loops, under and over, through the 2 loops, under and over, through the 2 loops. When you do the extra foundation stitch, it makes the bottom a little more stretchier, especially if you're doing sweaters or something like that. You want a little more stretch here. Otherwise, it's not going to be as stretchy. So you go under and over, bring it up, under and over, and through the 2 loops. Under and over and through the woods, through the 2 loops. Under and over, through the 2 loops. Some people will put, like there's a double chain. Some people will put a little marker at the end so they know where they're at. They'll go like this. They'll go chain one, turn around, and then they'll put a marker in the chain one, and then they skip that first chain. Now this is a little hack here's a hack that they usually do. You have your chain one, you don't go in the first one, you go in the second one. But the hack is that you go ahead and put a single crochet in that first one and go through the 2 loops, and then you put a marker in that single crochet, not the chain one. You don't do the chain one when you're going back. Okay, let's go ahead and go across. That way you don't have extra stitches. And it says it makes the sides a little bit more even than they were before. And there's even a way to make them more even, like in double and triple crochet, which I will show you later on. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and do that. Under and over, under and over. And you go into the chain there, because we did that one with a chain. Okay, let's go ahead and go up. Chain one and turn. Now you put it in the first single crochet, a single crochet. Bring it up, 2 loops on the hook, under and over. Now you mark that one as well. That way you won't put a single crochet in that little chain there, and that'll keep your sides even. 1, 2, under and over, and you put 2 loops on the hook. Under and over, bring your thread through, 2 loops on the hook, under and over, bring them through the 2 loops. So that's your single crochet, and you learned one hack there. Go under and over, and through the 2 loops. Under and over. Now you see where you put your marker in this chain. So you do this one. Under and over and through the 2 loops. See that? You chain 1 and turn. And then you do the single crochet in the first loop. And then you go ahead and mark that first loop so that you don't get extra chains in there or extra single crochets, because that will make your work go out like this. And you don't want that. You'll have too many stitches as well. And that'll get you off. And I've done that a lot of times. First time crocheters usually do. And you'll make that mistake at least once. And it'll frustrate you. Just keep at it. Crochet is very entertaining, and it's relaxing. And it's a good presence to give too. And there's a lot to be said for crochet. Crochet means little hook in French. It started as tambourine, the timbre. They did timbre stitch. They put material over a frame, very, firm, and then they took a little timbre hook. It was like a crochet hook, but it was only like the size of a needle, and they would take it through, and they would bring the thread up and then chain it, and then take it through again, bring it up and pull it through the chain, and they did a lot of designs that way. Well, somebody realized that the threads stayed together without using the material, and so they did away with the material, and then they started just crocheting with the thread, and they called that crochet in the air. Isn't that a pretty phrase? Crocheting in the air. And they found it was easy to take with them. They wanted to go on the go, and and that's how crochet kind of started, really. And a couple of ladies did some patterns, and there's your chain 1. Go in the first stitch, and then put your marker in that first stitch, and that'll keep you straight. Anyway, that's how they did that, and it's pretty neat. There you go, and you just keep going back and forth, and that's a lot better than doing just a chain stitch. There's your chain stitch. You can see it's a chain stitch, but when you do this, it looks much better. My grandson, he come in the house carrying a kitty upside down, just above the legs. And the kitty was kind of real relaxed, played dead kind of thing. And I said, honey, why are you carrying that cat upside down? Why don't you carry it right side up and, and it would be a lot more comfortable. And he goes, but Grandma, this side don't lick. I was just thinking of that. Kids can be so cute. Okay, so there's that. And then you put your crochet in your last chain, which is you've got marked. Now you'll get to eventually you can tell, but if you're going fast or you're going pretty quick, even then you might make an error, and that can be done. Okay, that's single crochet, and now I'm going to show you a little bit about gauge. If you're going to work really hard in making a pattern, and you're spending all this time crocheting, you want it to look nice, and you want it to fit. So you make a gauge. Most patterns will tell you to make what your gauge is on a 4-inch thing, such as this, for instance. This is some baby yarn, and they say either use your gauge 10 by 10 or a 4 by 4. See that? It says either 10 by 10 or a 4 by 4. And so you make your gauge a little bit bigger than that because you want to get in where your work is even and loose. You don't do the very bottom because the bottom isn't exactly, it might be off. So you kind of do the middle of your gauge, the middle of your swatch. You make a swatch. Here's a 4 by 4 single crochet. It's a little more bigger than 4 by 4. And then you count your stitches. And let's see. You kind of go in the middle where you're kind of even, and you count your stitches. Here's 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. 13 by, let's go down a little. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 13 by 15 is my gauge on this. And I made this with an eye hook. What they're saying, what they recommend, like for this, is to use this is a lightweight. It's a 3. It's a lightweight yarn. See how it says 3 on there? They all don't say that, but sometimes they do. And it says use a G hook or a 6, a G or 6, and you should get 16 single crochets across and 19 rows. So, if you're going to use a baby yarn, like a 3, you could try a G hook. But say your gauge here should be on this one. Say it should be like we've got, say it should be 1 or 2 stitches more than what you're getting. If your gauge should have more stitches, you're going to have to use a smaller needle, and you'll have to make another gauge, another swatch. And if it's less stitches than what you need, you're going to have to use a bigger needle. And I can't tell you how many swatches I've made pockets out of, or a stuffed animal, or put a part of a stuffed animal, or made squares. And I would put a bunch of these squares together and make a bag out of it. Just different things. I wouldn't tear them out. I mean, you've went to the trouble. And I only use the 4-inch when I'm doing a garment, or maybe even a hat. And a lot of times you can get by with 2 if you're doing like a wash rag or a small, something that's doesn't matter too much if it's off, but you can use 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and go this way and then double it. And if I'm making a small thing or but it's real important to get your gauge right on your hats and on your garments. Vests are real nice. Crocheted vests are very pretty, and they're that's pretty good. Okay. Sometimes you'll use different yarns than what it calls for. And yarns, they drape different, and they react different. Their characteristics are a lot different. And you'll have to maybe make 2 or 3 swatches. One time I couldn't even get a match because I like older patterns a lot of times, and you can't find the yarn for it anymore, or it's not made anymore. And there's a couple of sites that's equivalent, showing you what you can find that would match that gauge. Sometimes I just kind of hold it together and see. This is worsted weight yarn 4. This is a 4 worsted weight. And this is a 3 baby yarn, acrylic tube. And this is a, let's see, this is a kind of a 6. They have a 7, a super bulky. It goes from 0 to 7 is how yarn is done. And this is a chunky, what they call a chunky. And this is a, you know, you see this is in foreign language. A lot of times you'll get yarn that's in foreign language. Here they just tell you it's acrylic, 288 yard, but it won't tell you anything else except the color and the dye lot. Yeah, I can't tell if it's you know, it's like a 30 weight. This is the smaller yarn. This is a 30, and that's the smaller, and this is the 10. 10 is pretty much classic. That's pretty much what you're going to find anymore. And then there's the peaches and cream yarn, you know, which is kind of like weight number 4. Let's see this one. This is 25 grams. Polyester and viscose, made in Italy, but that's all it tells you. But you can see it's a very fine weight, and like that. That'd be nice to make jewelry with, Christmas ornaments, things like that. And then there's all kinds of yarns. This makes real soft. I made a scarf for my niece, and it's, as you can see, you just crochet it up or knit it up. You can see what the chain stitch looks like. See? Shows you a little bit about how it does up. And it kind of looks like that when it's done up. And then you can't get it out. But anyway, this is very nice, and it lasted really good, and she just loved it. And then you have your ribbons. Here's a beautiful textured ribbon, and it's different sizes, as you can see. Like this is a thinner size than that, but here's your ribbons. This is made in Italy. It's nylon, and it's a dye lot. It costs $13. But it's not, doesn't have a gauge or anything. Oh, I got it for 9, okay. But you can't, you know, you just look at the pattern that it calls for and try your gauge, you know, and do it. Here's a textured yarn. And this is baby. This is let's see. This says, it doesn't say, this is more like a 4-2. You can see it's almost like this, but you have to do a gauge on it, and this is harder to crochet with, and you can't hardly rip it out either. It sticks, you know, it kind of knots up real easy, but it's awful pretty, and it makes a beautiful baby thing. You can do a little baby with that. This is your peaches and cream type thing, or sugar and cream. This is all cotton, usually by Lily and stuff, and this is like a 4-2. This is kind of between a 3 and a 4. It's as you can see, it's thinner. It's a little bit thinner than the 4. So it's basically it, but yet it's not it's thicker than the 3. So you have to do a gauge because you're just not sure how that's going to turn out. Sometimes you'll get this is 50% Angora and 50% or alpaca and 50% wool. And this was spun up by my girlfriend. She sends it out and gets it done. This is a 2-ply. This is wool and Angora. They make beautiful gloves and things like that. But you have to do a gauge. I mean, it tells you a little bit. This is kind of like a 3. And, you know, she's saying here, 5 stitches equal an inch, and you use a number 8 US, which is a 5 millimeter, and you 26 rows and 20 stitches on a 10-inch gauge. This washes up really nice. I've made a couple of things out of it, and you know, you have to roll it. You have to use a Swifter. and a ball winder, and then I roll it up in a ball. And or you roll it by hand, but you use your fingers first and make longer stitches, longer wraps. But you know, you have to roll this up. You can't use it. And then you just, you know, if you get a skein like this that somebody has made, you just take it, you tie it off in a couple of places, you pull it tight, you twist it with your hands. I'm twisting it. See how I'm twisting it? And I just twist it up and I twist it around, and then I just put it through there. Okay? And there you go. And you know, I store my yarn into see-through plastic containers. I don't leave it out, and I'll tell you why. You see this ball of yarn? It's acrylic, but I'm going to show you. Bugs. That's what the yarn lady told me, my friend. She told me that bugs get in them, or microorganisms. And I had a bunch of sock yarn that way, and it broke my heart. I had to throw it all away. And I went 2 different stores, 2 yarn stores. And I'm not going to say what they are, but I took a little of their yarn out of the middle, and they broke. And I told the manager, and I went back to the store a month later, the stores, and they had replaced it. So you can get bad yarn from places. And that's where I got my yarn. But I had it set for a couple months, and I couldn't take it back. So you just got to be careful. Check that out, because I had thrown out lots of yarn. Okay. Here's some tatting thread. And this is called number 8, as you can see. And that's what my little needle's used for. You can make bookmarks and things like that. Bookmarks are really pretty to make. And so, you know, things like this. And here's this was made with a little needle. This is an old pot holder. It's a real famous design. It's in a lot of the old pattern books. I like old designs. Like, that's so pretty to me. And it takes a long time to make. I mean, that's fine, you know, a little fine, like a 4 crochet hook. You'd use a little 4 crochet hook. I'm going to talk to you about crochet hooks in different sizes. Japanese has the smallest size, and I like Boyd personally, but there's Susan Bates and everything. And here's some gauges you can buy. Here's the Susan Bates gauge. Here's a gauge that a lady just makes them on the internet. And that's another Susan Bates. So you can see they're different. These show more larger sizes. And you know, 50-25, that's the largest size that they make, but somebody just made a big hook, I think just for fun the other day on the internet. Okay. That's it for now. And please, if you like this, please give me a like and subscribe to me. I'm going to show you some half double crochet, and triple crochet next time. So until the next time, happy crochet. And this is Lena's Needle Crafts. Bye bye for now.